All right, hey team, welcome to the off season. This is your summer sports show from the Knighted, the number one Newcastle Knights podcast. G'day, I'm Scott Keenan, back again. And geez, it's bloody good to be back for another year with one of the biggest footy fans around, Lincoln Ison. Mate, how the bloody hell are you?
Mate, all the better. It's I've missed sitting here, mate, talking to you. It only feels like yesterday. I know it felt like a long season. It's
Yeah,
nice
didn't it?
sitting here back. But yeah, plenty to talk about though, mate. Jam-packed off season. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely, mate. And we're going to do it every week leading up to Christmas with shows dropping every weekend to keep you up to date with the footy, everything that's happening across the NRL and in the rugby league universe. And of course, all the other sports that we're going to be watching in the lead up to summer and Chrissy as well. So heaps to talk about. Let's get into it, mate. Let's blow time on for the show and have a look at what's happening this off season. And I thought we should start at the NRL Awards, the NRLW Awards, which I attended earlier this week in Newcastle, and where Yasmin Clydesdale topped a fantastic year for the club, where she was named Player of the Year in Newcastle at the NEX. A really great night. And of course, mate, it follows a victory for her in the State of Origin series against Queensland. She was named Dally M second rower of the year for the third year running. And of course, she's been selected to play for the Jillaroos in the Pacific Championships in the coming weeks. So what a year for her.
Oh, mate, and even one of the big ones, mate, named our captain also at the start of the season, like a perfect appointment. I think anyone anywhere was doubting whether she was going to be up to the job. Had the absolute pleasure of having her on the show a couple of weeks ago prior to the finals game against the Broncos. But mate, she's honestly just at the peak of her powers at the moment. She's, you know, just an absolute pleasure to watch, and just the leadership. We lost a lot of big players, didn't we?
Yeah, agreed.
In the course, as you do, you can't keep them all. So yeah, it was really crucial. We had like that really strong leader, and as I said, there was no doubting Yazzie was going to be the girl to do that.
Mate, I get to work with a lot of players from the club, as you know, as a employee of one of the sponsors, and I've absolutely loved getting to know Yasmin over the last couple of years and working closely with her on some of the mining content that we've done. I chatted to Kirk Gidley at the awards night, and I said to him, mate, and I respect him so much as a player and as a man and as a captain of the club, what he has achieved in his footy career. Of course, he captained New South Wales as well, but I said to him, I think she is up there with one of our best captains already, male or female. The way she carries herself, the way she plays on the field, but the way that she represents the club off the field is second to none. She's incredible.
Oh, without a doubt, mate. Yep, you took the words out of my mouth. I said that on air about a month or so ago. Like, I would absolutely have her up there. Your Paul Harrigans and that.
100%.
Everything it is to be a Newcastle Knight, on and off the football field. And yeah, no, I could not agree with you more, pal.
And there's some great young players coming through as well. Jules Kirkpatrick and Sienna Yeo, both named Rookies of the Year at that awards night. And funnily enough, mate, Yasmin said on stage in her acceptance speech that Jules has really been nipping at her heels this year. She said she wants my job in the second row, and she said that that's making her a better player.
Yeah, well, it's the old saying, pal, iron sharpens iron, doesn't it? But yeah, it's one thing we are blessed here at the Knights. We've had some great young, both the male and female athletes come through. Another one who I think is just going to be an absolute superstar. Her brother is burst onto the rugby league scene, and Jermaine McEwen and Eva McEwen also, her partner in crime in the second row throughout the season. She's another one, man. So yeah,
She's a ripper. She's an absolute ripper. I love watching her play.
Yeah, I want to know what's in the water, pal, in the McEwen house. I want a glass of that. But yeah, no, some stellar players coming through.
Yeah, for sure, mate. There was a bit of sad news on the night for me with confirmation that Dally M Winger of the Year, Sheridan Gallagher, is joining our Dally M Halfback of the Year, Jessie Southwell, in leaving the club. Reports this week that she may be going to the Raiders. And Jessie sort of touched on, for her departure, and sort of where she's going and what her feelings were like in her acceptance speech for Player of the Year on the night. She said watching the season highlights videos that they played during the evening really got to her. She said it made her feel really sad, and that she's built relationships at the club over the last 3 or 4 years that will last for a lifetime. That's Jessie Southwell at the awards night. Of course, all the talk is that she'll go to the Broncos. And as I said, Sheridan Gallagher leaving the Knights, potentially to go to the Raiders.
Yeah, two like cult figures within the game, aren't they? Really,
Yep.
it's so unfortunate. Like, it is going to look so bizarre seeing Jessie run out in anything other than a Knights jersey. Like, a lot of us think she's basically, our next Joey Johns, but for our women's team, she is just it's going to be scary how good she gets. Yeah, that's a whole nother debate about where the NRLW might be going with how good the Broncos are going to be and how hard they are going to be to stop the going back-to-back premiers, with Jesse Southwell arriving with an already pretty handy football team. And then, yeah, as you said, Sheridan, who if you remember last year on the off-season show that we did, joined us when she was
Yep.
running around for the Newcastle Jets also. She's another one, great character of the game, great finisher, great strong ball running winger. But I guess, that's the NRLW, isn't it? The talent's going to be spread out. And yes, look, it's still going to be fun to watch Sheridan run around for the
Yeah.
Raiders. But yeah, I really did enjoy her time here at the Knights.
Yeah, me too. And it might be goodbye for now, but it may not be farewell. They are still both quite young. Jessie, of course, only 2021. So she could come back at some stage. And I think the thing to keep in mind is the NRLW is still evolving. It's still growing and expanding. And I think as the salary caps rise, different clubs will be able to make offers to different players in the future. We've got no idea where that game is going to go over the next 5 to 10 years. And look, anything could happen. But we do know that there are some great young players coming through at the Newcastle Knights. Now, mate, the first Kangaroos tour gets underway soon with the first test in 2 weeks in London. You're wearing your Australian Rugby League jersey there very proudly, which I like to see. And there's games also in Leeds and at Everton's new stadium in Liverpool, which will be an absolute belter of a venue for a rugby league test between Australia and England. What are you expecting from this matchup over three test matches in England?
Well, did you see the footage? The English coach, what's his name again? Is it Shane Wayne? Wayne, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but the big rev up he got a lot of the English players in the room and just talking about the proud history and the English teams in the 70s beating Sean, coming in and beating the Kangaroos on those Ashes tours. And he's a guy that's sort of been talked about coming into the NRL sort of circle. But mate, if he can inspire his team back in England, I hope it is like a really good clash of what we used to see back in like even like the mid '90s and early '90s.
Oh, I loved all that. I loved it. I loved it so much. I remember as a kid, I reckon I might have been 7 or 8, and I asked my dad, "Can you please wake me up?" It was in the middle of the night. It was like 12:30 or something. He worked all day, stayed up all night, all evening while I went to bed, got me up, and I distinctly remember sitting there watching like the first 10 minutes and looking over, and Dad's like snoring in the chair because he'd sat up so late to get me up for the game. But it's so good. I reckon I will be getting up to watch it. 1:30 a.m. Sunday, October 26 here in Australia. It's Saturday, the 25th of October at Wembley Stadium in London. You're going to be getting up to watch?
Mate, I will be. I'm actually doing a live stream watch along. I love those
Awesome.
now, and it actually, believe it or not, falls on my birthday, so I get to do a birthday watch along. So might be a bit loose. I don't know what I'll be getting up to on the day, but yeah, as it proceeds well into the night, mate, I'll be in my green and gold, right on the couch here, cheering on the Kangaroos. But yeah, it needs to get back to that, doesn't it? I think the green and gold jersey, maybe for the younger generation, certainly isn't as revered as, say, guys, who used to watch football, 2 or 3 decades ago.
Yeah.
Sort of held the Kangaroo jersey. Obviously, with Origins coming in, and it's this behemoth of a game. But yeah, it is important to really reinvigorate the great rivalry between England and Australia, and England and Australia and anyone, I guess, really, but particularly the Ashes. It's long overdue, and yeah, I'm so excited for it, mate.
Yeah, and look, no one follows sport like the English. I think the atmosphere at those stadiums is going to be unbelievable. And players like Tino Faso, Big Tino. I knew I was going to muck that up.
Lama Awi.
Thank you, from the Titans, who has said, he's been selected in the team and he's excited to play for the green and gold. And I think we need some younger, big name players like him to really talk up their excitement for the jersey, for the tour, and to to, as a playing group, build the excitement around it. Because I think there's the media and the commentariat and pundits and creators around the game for sure. But I think if players get excited, us as fans are going to get excited as well. Our squad's been announced with 4 halves, 2 hookers, which is a bit unusual. The last few test series, we've just had the one hooker with Ben Hunt selected as like a half and hooker. This time you've got Harry Grant and Blake Brayley from the Sharks. He makes a debut in that squad. Bradman Best, the only Newcastle Knight, who also is selected for the first time for Australia, which is pretty fantastic for Brady. Great to see. And I think some really exciting players. Ethan Strange from the Raiders, Reece Walsh, of course, from the Broncos. We're going to have a pretty exciting team, I reckon.
Yeah, it's looking pretty stacked, mate. Yeah, very much looking forward to it. It's the one bizarre part for me, Scotty, is when you start seeing some players that you generally mightn't like, and then you start having to root for them because they're representing your country. There's only a couple of games where that happens. So yeah, that's. But look, once they're representing your country, mate, all that goes to the wayside, and you're cheering them on. But yeah, it's a pretty handy squad. And as you said, I'm glad you touched on Bradman Best, mate. Great to see that he's going to get that call up. I know he had a couple of injuries in front of him, but I keep saying it. I think he's the best specialized left center in the game. He's done it on the big stage before. Whenever it's been called upon him in Origin, he's absolutely a needle mover in the right direction, either scoring tries or setting them up or breaking the game open. So, really looking forward to him having a really, really good campaign in the Kangaroos, and you can certainly bring that back for the Knights in 2026.
100%. Now, mate, are you prepared to take a quick quiz on the Kangaroos?
Oh, all right, mate. Hit me. What do you got?
Well, it's been 22 years since the last Kangaroo tour, and I thought let's cast our minds back to who was there at the time. Who was the captain of the Kangaroos in 2003?
2003. I'm gonna go 2003. No, it's not gonna be. Wouldn't be Cam. I'm gonna go. Give me Lockyer. Maybe give me Lockyer.
Ding. One
Got
from
it.
one. You got it, mate. I'm very impressed. That's good.
Yeah, I was thinking Cam's
Darren Lockyer,
a bit early for Cam, but
Darren Lockyer, he's one of our greats of the game, and he would be so proud of you, mate. Getting that right.
nailed it, mate. Nailed it. Close my eyes. I'm looking at Lockie.
Now, here's one for you. Who scored the most points in that test series in 2003 for Australia?
Oh, the most points. Okay. 2003.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't a back.
It wasn't a back.
It was a forward.
A forward scored the most points.
Yeah.
Wow. Like prop forward?
It wasn't a prop.
Hooker.
Wasn't a hooker.
Second row.
Yep.
Steve Simpson.
No, but he was in that squad. He was in that team.
Oh, nah. Who you got?
He is now a coach in the NRL.
Oh, Craig Fitzgibbon.
You got it. 58 points. He played in 5 games. He scored 1 try and 27 goals.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. He was a pretty handy kicker now that I think about it.
Was.
Yeah.
And he always had that tape around his head.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
What about the coach? Who was the coach?
That era had to be Chris Anderson.
You got it.
Yeah.
Chris Anderson, indeed. And he also coached the Eels and the Bulldogs, if I'm right.
Roosters.
And the Roosters.
And the Dragons are too, I think, early.
Maybe.
I think it was around a bit, old Chris Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a legend. And he's not one we hear a lot about anymore. But yeah, he definitely got around and did a lot for the game. And you've named one. Can you name 2 Newcastle Knights that were in that touring party?
The greatest hooker to ever play the game, mate. That is the great Danny Badiris, the most capped Newcastle Knight of all time, pal.
You got it. And Steve Simpson, who has got the most crushing handshake I've just about ever experienced.
I wouldn't doubt that for a second, mate. I look forward to that handshake, but yeah, so I imagine it would break bones.
Yeah, he's a very good man. Still works in and around mining, so I get to see him every now and then. He's a great fella. And 2 of our very finest test match players from the Newcastle Knights there in that 2003 Kangaroo Tour, and we're doing it all again this year. So, mate, well done on that. I'm impressed that you nailed all those.
Yeah, not a bad strike rate. Not a bad strike rate.
There's no cheating either. I'm impressed.
Thanks, mate.
Who do you reckon the halves are going to be? We've got 4 halves have been selected in Cameron Munster, Mitchell Moses, Nathan Cleary, and Tommy Dearden from the Cowboys. He, of course, had such a great Origin series, but hasn't played for a little while because, of course, the Cowboys didn't make the finals. Who would be your sort of top pairing out of those two?
Oh, I think you could. I think Tommy Dearden. I reckon he'll be certainly one of the spots. The big debate's going to be Mitch Moses and Nathan Cleary, because, you know, as great as Nathan has been, and he's been great, he just hasn't hit the peak of those powers in the rep arena. We're still waiting to see what he brings to finals football to the Blues. You know, the big rep arena. He sort of hasn't had that big game where, on the flip side, Mitch Moses has done that. He's gone to Queensland. He's won a decider. He's done all that. And, you know, I know he had a huge, portion of the period where he wasn't playing, but boy, oh boy, when he made it back, Parramatta, they look like a finals team. They were just unfortunate.
They really did.
The competition wasn't 2 or 3 weeks longer. They'd probably make the 8. They were totally different. So I don't know. Maybe is it a bit of fitness? Obviously, you know, Mitchie's probably a bit fitter, given he hasn't, having probably too many niggles, missing.
But what's the best combo? Because I'm looking at these, right, and I'm thinking there's only one of those 4 that probably couldn't play halfback, and for me, that's Cameron Munster. Mitchell Moses, Nathan Cleary, Tommy Dearden can play both positions, right? And so it probably depends a little bit as well who's at fullback and who's at hooker. But I mean, I want to see Mitchell Moses in the green and gold. I think he's probably my favorite out of those players. And when you think about, like, you know, the coach, and you've got Gordon Tallis there as well, you know, as an advisor to Kevy Walters, he's probably going to pick Cameron Munster, isn't he? So, you know, can Moses and Munster play together, or is it Dearden and Munster? You're not going to bench Munster, are you? Not after the year he's had.
I don't know. Like, yeah, I get he's a big game player. I know he fell flat, particularly in the second half of that grand final. He certainly wasn't as impactful as he has been in those sort of arenas prior. I don't know. If I'm honest, I'd have him down the bottom of the pecking order. I think Tommy Dearden's rocketed right up there. I think it's just super unfortunate. He's
a fighter.
He really is. You know, it's hard to, as a proud New South Welshman and a Blues supporter, he's one of those Queenslanders I actually don't mind. He's tough as nails, and they love him up there in North Queensland.
Yeah,
I don't know. I reckon they'll put him at 5'8", and you know what? I'd give Mitchie Moses a crack. I agree. His form, if you look maybe where Nathan finished the season and where Mitch was, I think you would have to say Mitch played the better football.
I just think, to me, he's a more explosive runner of the ball. He's more exciting. He's quicker than Cleary. And I just love watching him play. And, you know, I think Parramatta's going to go great next year. I just think he is an excellent player, and he's one of the first players picked for New South Wales next year in my mind. So, you know, maybe it's Dearden and Moses. That's where we're rolling here.
Yeah, and I'm great about the speed. He is sneaky fast. People don't realize how fast Mitch Moses is. So yeah, it's lock it in. Moses Dearden.
Fantastic. Mate, also the Pacific Championships start next weekend as well. So it's the Cook Islands, Samoa, Fiji, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and Tonga on the men's side. On the women's side, there's no Fijian team. It's the Gillaroos playing in amongst that group. It's 6 games and a final over 2 weekends. And there's games in Port Moresby. We've got games in Queensland. There's games in Auckland as well. And I think there's some games in Western Sydney. It should be a pretty exciting competition, I think. And obviously the first round of games is ahead of that test match that Australia and England are playing. And we've got a couple of Knights appearing in some of these teams too. On the men's side, Dylan Brown, of course, coming to the club next year, and Phoenix Crossland, both named for New Zealand. And I think, you know, that you look at the Tonga and the Samoa teams, they look pretty incredible. I mean, New Zealand will be strong again, but I reckon we might be looking at a Tonga Samoa final.
Yeah, mate. I had the pleasure of going along. It would have been around this time last year. Tonga versus Australia at Suncorp Stadium. And,
Yep.
mate, we were outnumbered. Like, seriously,
Oh,
they got around it.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
And yeah, and it's great to see, another great rivalry, Tonga and Samoa. Obviously Samoa was away playing England last year, if you remember.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
we were over there. So I think this makes more sense to have these sort of teams playing one another, particularly, Tonga and Samoa going head to head. They're always really exciting clashes. But as you said, I'm really looking forward to watching the Kiwis only because of our boy Dylan Brown, who's coming to the club. The big off-season signing for the Newcastle Knights, way back.
You just wanted to say off season, didn't you?
Yeah, just right there, put it in there. But yeah, no, it is. It's exciting, mate, and it's the next step for rugby league, isn't it? I'm glad that they're sort of they're catering to that audience, because there is absolutely an appetite there. They get around these specific teams. So yeah, I'm equally as excited, mate, to watch the Kangaroos taking on the English. But as a neutral fan of some of these other teams, mate, I'm just excited to see some good football played.
Yeah, me too. And we might pick this apart on another episode before the end of the year. The idea of, maybe some things to fix footy, right? Where do we think things could be improved? And I think things like the length of the season and finding a really better premium spot for this stuff to be played when players aren't so cooked from having played 27 rounds of footy in the preseason and all that sort of stuff. I think, this is going to be amazing. But they're human, right? They're not machines. So there is a lot of footy that gets played, but I'm super excited to see the Pacific Championships and the Kangaroos test get underway in the next couple of weeks. And before that, of course, we've had this week, and for you, I did want to touch on this. It's been, it's the end of a bit of a weird week for you, mate, with this really kind of weird, unprovoked takedown of the United by Vossi and Brandy on SEN, and two really experienced broadcasters. Both highly regarded in the game, of course. And it was weird. Most of your followers and fans will have already sort of seen the footage and heard the show on SEN, so we probably don't need to go through all of that. But there was an apology at the end of it, and I think also really a reminder about never to punch down. Right, from my point of view, them playing your reaction to the grand final on their show says more about you than it does about them. It says that you're doing some great work, and you've hit on a nerve, and you've got a big fan base, and you're on their radar. And I think that's good, right? Any PR is better than no PR at this point.
Yeah, it's certainly publicity.
How did it feel getting so much love though from around the game and from people that follow you and maybe other people that came out of the woodwork as well, whether it was, intended as hurtful or not, but to get that support coming out for you this week?
Oh, mate, that is, that by far was the most encouraging part, is when you sit back and you're going, oh, wow. Like, to think, people respect you that much, and you kind of forget how much you are a part of people's lives. You go ahead and we do the things we do, but you kind of forget maybe how you're perceived in other people's lives, and they watch you on your screen and whatnot, or it will resonate with the things I do and say, or sometimes they don't. That's completely fine too. But yeah, look, I just want to make it abundantly. I did make it abundantly clear in the videos I put out. Look, there's no resentment. I'm not sitting here harboring any ill will towards Brandy or Vossi or anything like that.
You're not that kind of guy.
Nah, like life's too short, mate. As you said, that they're two very well respected guys within the zeitgeist of rugby league. Brandy being a champion player and what he did for the Blues recently. And we all grew up with Vossi, didn't we? On commentary, footy show, roast, all that stuff. Look, had they had their time again, they would probably, well, I would hope they would choose far better words and
just have some more fun with it, right? Because at the end of the day, footy's meant to be fun. It's a game. I got to say also though, mate, if you were in your mother's basement like they suggested, there is no way any mother would in their right mind let them do to their basement what you've done to that bar. No chance.
No, probably not. No, I highly doubt that, mate.
I love that bar though. You've done a great job there, and more power to you, brother.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, just I don't know. Might take him up on the crows. I never thought about putting crows in here, but might pay off.
Oh, I'd love to see it. It feels very Game of Thronesy, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I could pull off. I kind of got a Game of Thrones kind of vibe
Oh,
about
you
me. So
do.
yeah.
Now, if you went down that path, I mean, that'd be a lot of fun to play with.
Mm. Well, I don't know.
And
I'm
I'm really
also
pale,
keen.
like I could be a White Walker.
There you go. Oh, hey. Hey, I like that. Well, I
Well,
do have the Night's Watch stream,
yes.
which was inspired by Game of Thrones. So yeah, possibly, mate. Possibly. Well, Halloween's right around the corner, mate. So we got it made. Eh?
It could yet be a surprise to come on the off season. Look, that's good. I'm glad that's been put to bed and we can move forward. And also now that the dust has settled a little bit on the grand final and the celebrations in Brisbane and southeast Queensland, where we all know you are, have hopefully settled down a bit. I think. Let's take a bit of a look back at the grand final as part of our big story this week. And let me first ask, after your reaction to the two grand final wins by the Broncos was all over social media and of course all over SEN this week. Are you okay, mate? I know it's not a "Are you okay" day, but I've got to check in. Are you now okay?
Yeah, look, yeah, shout out to Brandy and Vossi. It was a welcome distraction. I actually haven't had too much time to think about it. So it came at a good time in a way. But yeah, when you've got mates and like I'm telling, like the very next day, the local coffee shop down the road, I haven't even had my first sip of coffee, and the barista's just
Oh,
absolutely pizzling me. A
slaughtered.
couple of the regulars there, giving it to me. You know how ruthless your mates can be.
What's what
Setting.
what? Tell me, mate. What is it like being a New South Welshman and an out and out Knights fan living in amongst all those Broncos in southeast Queensland? What
It,
what, what is it like?
it does feel very lonely at times. It's not until you go ahead and see, you're with your own, whether it's at Magic Round or we do play the Broncos or the Titans or somewhere southeast Queensland. You get to congregate around your own. It can feel very lonely at times, pal. Hence why you do crash out occasionally, because you just feel
Yeah,
like the walls are coming in on you, and you're copping it from everywhere. Like, mate, seriously, all week that's all I've seen is just
yeah.
Broncos jerseys everywhere. It's like a
Yeah,
living
and look, they
nightmare.
are a big club, right? They have got huge membership. Off the back of that win, their stock price on the ASX went up something like 25%.
Did it really?
It really did,
Okay.
and I think they've hit like record membership, something like 54,000
Mm.
members. They've got that big stadium there. They are a big club; it's undeniable. And mate, I'm good mates with Josh King. I was cheering for the Storm. And as weird as it was, I was cheering for the Roosters in the NRLW. I didn't want the Broncos to win either of those games for me, but I'm not living in in amongst all those Broncos there, so I can understand why you felt that even harder.
Yeah, certainly did. It's weird. I don't dislike the Storm as much as some other people. It was one of those funny finals, Scotty. It was very divisive. I don't think there was many neutral people. You're either very staunchly this side or this side. You're either barracking for the Storm or hating on the Broncos or vice versa. It seemed to be a very divisive. It was like that kind of a final.
I had
But
a lot of people though that I know who are fans of other clubs or whatever, and were telling me, "Oh, I'm going for the Storm. I'm going for like lots of people in New South Wales were actively supporting the Storm, which I was really surprised about."
Well, that's good. And I'm with you, mate. Obviously, great guest we had on last year. Yeah, your mate Josh King. I put the tweet out. I thought he was absolutely sensational.
Oof.
Easily one of the three best for the Storm. I had him right up there. Pappy had a pretty, I thought, had a pretty impactful second half. Elliot Katoa, obviously the Dalian second row, but
Man,
geez, Josh King, mate, he was cutting blokes in half. Payne Haas in a grand final running like full tilt and cut the bloke in half. Like, it didn't go unnoticed.
I've watched all of his games at Melbourne. I watch every Knights game. I watch every Storm game. So I've seen him play, and he's got better and better and better in his time there. I've never seen him hit that hard.
Mm,
He was immense. He was
yeah.
immense. And Eli Katara as well. I mean, he's got hands like a halfback, but he's kind of built like Payne Haas, right? So he is an absolute weapon, no matter where he plays. Whether it's there or for his national team, he has an impact. He's such a great player, and it was one of the biggest grand finals in recent memory. TV ratings were huge; they were up, and for the first time in 10 years, the NRL grand final rated higher than the AFL grand final. So, all the talk about the daytime grand final and bringing that back, I think that's probably been put to bed at least for the next 12 months. The new TV deal will come in from 2027, and when that's all settled, and whether that includes a nighttime or a dusk or an Arvo grand final, who's to know at this point? But I can't see that certainly changing in the next 12 months.
What
Because
would you like? I'll ask you then. What would you prefer? You obviously grew up like I did with the daytime finals.
Well, I was talking to my dad about it. My dad's, been in Australia for 50 years, but he came from outside, and he always loved like the barbecue with neighbors and stuff like that, and watching the grand final. But I think the product's changed, like from when we were watching, Penrith and the Dragons and and the Broncos, those teams in the early 90s were winning grand finals then and having a barbie and the TV in the backyard. I just think the product has changed significantly. You've got the women's game, which has to be accommodated and included on grand final day. I don't like the idea of, I've heard pundits talking about having it on the Saturday night or the Friday night. I don't like it. I want a stadium full of people watching the NRLW grand final, followed by the men's grand final. I think that is the best way to go until that game can truly stand on its own. And that might be another 20 years. So I think the way that we have it now works really well. And I don't mind the nighttime thing. I mean, I think it's weird how Channel 9 is still so insistent about having the news at 6 p.m. because that is one of the things that defines how grand final day works.
Mm,
That's why the women's one is at 4 p.m. and the men's is at 7:30. It's so that they can run the news at 6. It's so that they continue to have the highest rating show, which it is each week, on Sunday night, and get as many eyeballs on that product. I get it. But for me, the product on that grand final Sunday is the footy, and it's Teddy swims, and that's what people want to see. They want to see the entertainment, and they want to see the stars playing footy. They don't really give a stuff about the news and all the build up.
mm,
Do that at 5 o'clock. Do it at 4 o'clock, or just don't do it at all.
yeah.
Things like that actually play quite significantly into the structure of the match day, which it's not dictated by Nine, but they are heavily consulted by the game. And I think if they, for example, got rid of the news, you could bring the game forward by an hour, and you could start to have this situation where the entertainment kicks off earlier, the game kicks off earlier, and it's not going to be an Arvo footy thing, but it's going to be it's not going to feel like nighttime state of origin. It's going to be more like a late afternoon, evening event, which families can get around a little bit more, which I think is cool.
Yeah, for me, I'm with you. I just feel like it just finishes too late. I'd like to see it brought forward a bit, only because like I don't know. I certainly wasn't celebrating this one. I was doing the complete and utter opposite. But yeah, for those who don't want to yip and yahoo all night if your team's won, or even if it's just a great final, just to have an hour or two afterwards.
Yeah.
It just finishes so bloody late now.
It does. A really good take. I heard Maddie and Cooper Johns were talking on the Backstage podcast this week. You may have heard it as well. And Maddie talked about the 2001 grand final.
Yep.
And he said that finishing that game, having it as a daytime game, maybe it was 97. I think it was 97. He's talking about 97.
Yeah,
but
yep.
they drove back up to Newcastle that
Yep.
evening, and
Yep.
everybody lined the F3 and the Newcastle Link Road, and celebrated in town with them that night. And he was saying the Broncos should have been given that experience. Go straight to the airport, jump on a plane, go home to Brisbane, and okay to be late, but celebrate that night, carry that energy through
Yeah,
on the day. And I think that's I can see that side of it too for the
yeah.
players.
Pop quiz, mate. What was the first night final?
Ooh,
It was a good one, a very good one. Here's a little hint for you.
yeah, go on.
2001,
Was it
first night final, pal. Yep.
2001? I was there. That was nighttime. Are you sure?
It certainly was.
There's my memory. How good am
Very
I?
first one, mate. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Well, we had that big stadium, and it still had the remember the Stadium Australia had those two
Yeah.
big wings off the back. That's where I was sitting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was that was pretty epic. Like that, those two stands just went for miles.
I don't understand. I've never understood why, if you've already built that, why get rid of that?
I think it was so that they could put a roof around the whole thing.
Ah.
So the roof runs all the way around. So they reconfigured. They didn't just reconfigure it, but they actually like added roofing around that end because it was fully exposed. So they were like these two like ski slopes that just
Yeah.
went forever and had no cover over them. Yeah.
Stairway to Heaven. Yeah. Because I remember seeing the footage of it, and I think my dad, I think it was 99, the double header, which the Knights were a part of one of those games.
Yeah.
So what was it, 90? What was the capacity? It was something.
110,000 was the capacity.
Was it 110?
110. Yep.
Wow. Yeah,
It was mega. It was mega.
Wow.
I went there. I remember going there with my family, and before it had opened, it was like a community day where you could go and walk the track and go and have a look at it. It was just so epic when that thing opened. It was just unbelievable for the city and for the game. Like to get it's not like the fact that it's a bit of a bowl is not ideal, but still an epic big stadium like that for our game was pretty unreal. Hey, a couple of other things. Teddy Swims. I know you put up a poll on Instagram on your United page, whether it was a hit or miss. And when I saw it, it was sort of sitting at about 68-32 people in favour of Teddy Swims. Is that where it sort of landed?
Yeah, you're bang on. Yeah, 67% thought it was it. And I was surprised. Like I didn't want to sound like a boomer or anything, because when Lou said, "Oh, Teddy Swims,"
yeah, me too.
Teddy Swims, but then that Lose Control song went, "Oh, I've heard that. I know. Okay, now I know who we're talking about." I thought he was really good.
Me too.
The parents, I was keen to gauge their reaction to it, and they were loving it. Oh, this is great. They certainly that Snoop Dogg certainly wouldn't have been their first choice. But yeah, I don't know. I thought he did a pretty bloody good job,
mate. By including TNT in the set, 3 songs, he did 2 of his own, which were big hits, and TNT, which he belted out really, really well. He performed the hell out of that song, and it brought the right energy. I was worried because I thought this is a big bloke who sort of stands and sings effectively like R&B with a rock band, and I was like, oh, is this going to land? But when he whipped out the kilt and started giving it his best Angus Young impersonation, I thought it was awesome. And the other thing, just before we move on from it, on the day-night thing, having the entertainment in the evening when it's dark or getting dark, and you can have it lit that way, compared to like Snoop at the AFL Grand Final, which looked a bit lame in the daytime, honestly. I think it looks amazing, and that's another tick in the column for having an evening or nighttime grand final for me. That looked fantastic on TV, and I'm sure in the stadium was pretty good as well. I don't think we want to talk too much about the Broncos. They've won it. They were, the comeback kings through the finals, and they did a smashing job in that second half to run over the top of the Storm. But I want to ask you, do you think that might be is the premiership window closing for the Storm? Two grand finals in a row. It's going to be hard for them to get there a third year in a row.
Yeah, it is. And obviously there's, I'm sure that might be a topic we'll touch on another show. This R360, they seem to be offering just about everyone a contract at the moment. And Big Nelson Asafa-Solomona, he's been given permission to go. You got
do you know he's formally left the club?
He has definitely gone.
Yep.
Ryan Pappenhausen, I think there was some cryptic sort of tone insinuating, his time
possibility
it's come to an end. So, and you obviously got, Pezzit's now activated his exit clause. I don't know what the scenario is with Tyron Wishart. So yeah, it's a they find themselves in a position they probably haven't found themselves in a long time. A little bit of uncertainty in the spine. Craig Bellamy, what's he only contracted till next year? I believe
next year, yeah. He's got like this rolling 1 year where he basically activates another year, and they just do it between him and the chairman.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I saw a post up saying Cameron Munster has only won 2 from 6 grand finals. So I was like, wow. I was like, I can't think of another player that's lost 4 grand finals. Like it's great to make 6 of them, but losing 4 of them wouldn't be fun. But
and look, I saw some comments from, all of them have spoken about it, but just in the last couple of days, Josh was actually quoted in an article in the Sydney Morning Herald. I haven't had the chance to talk to him yet, but he said in that article that this hurt a lot, much more than last year, going back to back and losing 2 grand finals. This second one has hurt all those boys a lot more. I know Cooper Johns was in the sheds with them, and he talked about it on their podcast with his dad this week. And he said the same. He said, they were up, and then you could see that they were devastated, and they tried to kind of get themselves back up again, and end of the season, and they were just like, gee, that really hurt. And I think it'd be worth us chatting about that again before Christmas on this show about the Broncos, about Melbourne, about the Panthers, about these teams at the top, and with November 1 coming, with player movement happening, what do they look like next year, and what can they achieve? I think it'd be super interesting.
Yeah. I was just quickly before we move on, like I was just so surprised. Like when the Storm were up 22 points, I was thinking, man, this might be one of the big halftime grand final scores we've ever seen. And I was so confident. I was like, nah, they're not gonna. They got Craig Bellamy's coach. When you got an elite spine, Harry Grant, Jerome Hughes, Cameron Munster, and Pappy at the back, and you can't, it'd be absolutely miraculous if they lose this football game. And Tui Kamitha, had he scored that try, who knows what the result would be. And it was since that moment, they didn't even look like scoring another point. They just edge defense was poor. I don't know.
Passes. They pushed a few passes and dropped balls that they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, and I was so surprised that a Craig Bellamy team, a coach who's been to more finals and coached more finals game than any other coach, his team of all would be one to give up such a commanding lead. They were so dominant. I was just absolutely blown away.
Yeah, and I don't know whether they thought they had to defend the lead, or even instinctively you just don't. I mean, but then they did push passes. They did play, but made a lot of mistakes in the second half. And then Brisbane made them pay. They really, really made them pay with the tries that they scored. They bulldozed them, especially on the edges. So there'll be a lot of soul searching in Melbourne over the off season for sure. And the players there, they'll want to come back big and strong next year. And with people like and leaders like Josh and some others in the team, I'm sure they're not going to just throw the towel in. They're going to come back strong again next year, mate. Let's go around the grounds real quick and check out some of the other sports that you and me are watching this off season. And let's start with Big Ange in the UK. It is a very nervous weekend for Ange Postecoglou. I tell you what, mate, no Premier League matches this weekend. So he's going to be studying the form guide for the following week. There's an international window on. And he's going to be trying to make sense of what's happening in his life and in his career right now. After getting the boot from Spurs at the end of last season, he's now the new head coach at Nottingham Forest. Most of you would know that. But no wins after 7 games, 5 losses and 2 draws from 7 starts. It is looking a bit grim. And Ange, he's not sort of a cup half full kind of guy. He sort of walks around with like a grey cloud kind of hanging over him most of the time. And he's really going to have to find a way to start winning with this team. Otherwise, I reckon before the off-season show is finished this year, he could be out of a job.
Well, yeah, I actually want to ask you. I'm not as up on the EPL and soccer as much as you are. As far as like coaching jobs, how ruthless are they? And I know like rugby league might seem like it's quite ruthless, but in retrospect, are they far more what's the word I'm looking for?
Cutthroat.
Yeah, in the EPL and that.
Mate, the pressure is unbelievable. The media is unrelenting, and I think it's different in every club, but it is way more sort of pressure packed and intense than what we see here in Australian sport. A good like alternative example is my club, Manchester United. They have a manager that they brought in halfway through last season, and he's coached them now for 50 games, 34 Premier League games where you can get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. He's got something like 35 points from those 34 or 35 games. It's horrendous. Like he's got the worst win record of any Manchester United manager for the last 40 years. And most people are asking, why isn't this guy getting the sack? And there are reasons, but there are other clubs in the Premier League and in some of the other divisions where coaches get the boot after 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And
Wow.
the coach that Ange replaced only had 2 or 3 games and he got sacked. And so Ange has come in, replaced him. And Ange, did with the Socceroos, did with Celtic in Scotland, did with his Japanese club, plays this really fast front foot attacking style of footy. It's sort of foot to the floor stuff. But he might not have the players necessarily to do that, and he just wants to play this one way. So unless he can find a way to change things up and get a bit more defensively solid, like sadly, he might be out of a job for the second time in 6 months.
Damn, geez, that is cutthroat.
Football friendlies this weekend, as I was saying, the Socceroos are playing Canada in Denver in the US Saturday this weekend, and then they take on the USA Wednesday next week. Both those games being shown on Paramount. We talked about the Ashes in the rugby league, but of course the Ashes is coming in the cricket this summer. It is a I'm super excited about it. It's huge. England only come every 3 or 4 years to Australia. 5 Test matches, but a bit worried at the moment, mate, because there is a massive blow with an injury cloud over Pat Cummins, our captain for the first Ashes Test. He's our best bowler. He's our captain, and he's actually one of our most reliable players with the bat too. He's very confident with the bat and scores quite regularly, wagging the tail for us when our top order tends to fail. Scotty Boland, a likely replacement to come in, who's a good bowler, but he's no replacement for Pat Cummins. Are you looking forward to the Ashes? Are you going to go to the Gabba Test?
I've actually always wanted to go. Go along. I'll have to actually get along to one of these because it is a great Australian tradition. Everyone should at least go along to a Test match.
It's a good day out, mate. It is really good fun.
Yeah, I should do it.
Especially with the Barmy Army, they're all going to come out here.
Yeah,
They drink beer, they chant, and they sing all day. And that's a lot of fun. It's not like the hooliganism that you see and have seen in the past at English soccer games. There's a fun vibe around it, and I think our Aussie fans are going to get around that, and it's going to make for a great atmosphere at the Test matches across the Australian summer for sure.
Mate, the last cricket game I would have gone to would have been 1999, and it was Australia A versus Zimbabwe.
Oh, ripper!
Yeah, I'm trying to remember I think it was Dale Blewett. God, I'm trying to remember some of the names because they don't do an Australian A anymore, do they?
No. Oh, do you know? I think I've seen something around that the last little while. I think there might be, but it's not. It doesn't have the same prominence that that it did have before. I think that first 11 and the way that they program cricket now. There's just so many other avenues to play. Right, Big Bash, the Premier League in India, and those short forms of the game. It means there's a bit more of a spread of the players, and there's more options for them to play. But yeah, big summer of cricket on the way. And, if you haven't bought tickets, I'd encourage you to have a look at that and get along to one of those Test matches and support the Aussies. Massive weekend in motorsport this weekend, mate. The Bathurst 1000 on this Sunday. And I haven't been following it too closely. I think Brody Kostecki is the favourite, and the Red Bull guys also will be in there with a chance as well. I don't know if you've ever been to Bathurst. That it's a fantastic track, and the atmosphere on those big race days. I've been to a 12-hour race there, not to the Bathurst 1000, but the atmosphere is amazing. And I wonder whether the guys that are setting up tents there this weekend are going to be digging out the cases of beer that they buried earlier this year, because there is a limit on how much beer that you can actually bring into the venue. I think it's 1 case per person for that weekend.
God, that's un-Australian.
But at one point a few years ago, people did go up there and bury cans of beer at the top of the hill there, where that camping area is set up, and hide it from the race organisers, so that they had plenty of booze to get them through all the way through the weekend.
Mates, half the fun is seeing the footage of them going around these absolute bogan legends. They're cruising around on sorts of stuff. It's like a bogan paradise.
It's brilliant. It is good.
So fun. They honestly need to do a doco. Just don't even worry about the race. Just these absolute lunatics up on the mountain. But yeah, I was Dad was telling me, is it a different structure? You're saying something? Is it like what was the term, like semi-finals, or there was some sort of different I don't know how they scored, or how the race is run, or something or rather?
Possibly, I haven't heard, but maybe we can sort of have a look at that on the weekend. But yeah, I haven't. I got to be honest, I haven't followed it as closely. But Bathurst is something that I always put in the. I've literally put it in my calendar, and I can't wait to see the cars go around the mountain. And of course, our old mate Jesse Yates at Fox Sports will be leading the coverage there for them with Mark Scaife and some of the others there. So it should be a good weekend of watching motorsport on. I think is it on 7 as well, on 7 and on Fox Sports. Staying with motorsport real quick, mate. Cheers and tears at McLaren this week. Now, I don't know if you saw the Singapore Grand Prix was on last weekend. And for McLaren, it was cheers because they won the Constructors' Championship in a canter with 6 races to go. I don't think that's ever been done before. That's where you add up the points for your team. And McLaren has beaten Ferrari and Mercedes and Red Bull to that title well in advance of the end of the season. So a really, really great effort from them. They've got 2 strong drivers and a really, really fast set of cars that's performing super well throughout the year. But tears because Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have hit each other during that race. And the relationship, which was so good last year and started well this year, I think is starting to get a little bit testy. And Oscar Piastri in particular, I think he's starting to feel like maybe he's not getting the same rub of the green that Lando gets. And normally in these F1 teams, you've got one driver that is the senior or the preferred driver, and then you have a support driver. And these 2 drivers are quite equal. Oscar's actually leading the Drivers' Championship at the moment, and Lando Norris is coming second. And it's quite unusual to see 2 drivers from the same team in the top 2 gunning for the Drivers' Championship. And if either one of them wins, it'll be their first championship. So they both want it really, really badly. And they've got Max Verstappen now. His car's been improved, and he's starting to snap at their heels. And I really think this is going to be interesting to watch, whether you're into motorsport and Formula One or whether you just sort of got a bit of an interest because there's that Aussie there. It's not going to be an easy run to the line for either for Oscar or for Lando, and I reckon there's a good chance that they could come to blows again, either metaphorically or even literally on the track before the season ends, because they have rules within their team which are quite different to other teams, where they're actually allowed to race each other. And there's been a couple of little stoushes during the year, but now that the Constructors' Championship has been put to bed and they've won that, really there's nothing left to lose except for the Drivers' Championship, which they both want to win. It's going to be really exciting to watch, mate.
For the uneducated, because you've made me think now. So what is the purpose? And if you said you had the preferred driver, so that's obviously your
or a lead driver.
So what is the purpose of the other guy if not to win races? So to speak, like I just assumed you didn't matter who was in front of you. If it's a teammate, whatever, you're all there to win. Yeah, that's what you're all to get the most points. Well, is there a strategy to go, well, look, mate, we want this guy. We're going to put all our eggs in his basket. You're out here to do what? Exactly.
Well, they ideally want 2 drivers scoring points. So there's 20 cars in a race, and the first, the top 10 finishing drivers all score points. So you want your 2 cars in the top 10 scoring points, because every point you gets your team closer to that Constructors' Championship,
so
right?
it's not the driver as such.
Well, it is the driver too, right? So they score points, and the points accumulate for the team. They're fighting for 2 things. They're fighting for the Constructors' Championship, but they're also fighting for the Drivers' Championship. But it's unusual to have 2 drivers that are both so good and to have a car that is so competitive that they're sitting at 1 and 2. You might expect them to be 1 and 4 or 2 and 5 or 2 and 8 or something like that, where the second driver might be a younger driver like Oscar is, coming into the team from Formula 2, where they're having their first or second or third year in Formula 1. They're developing their skills. They're getting used to driving in this elite racing competition. And the lead driver is usually a bit more experienced. They'd be paid more and they'd be expected to perform at a higher level. But Oscar's come in having won Formula 3, having won Formula 2, and having come into this team and straight away has hit his straps. And he's got really good, really fast. And I think last year Lando was doing better, but this year Oscar has shot out of the cannon. He's won races. He's leading the championship with only 6 races to go. And I think it's probably upset the apple cart, certainly for Lando, his teammate. I think the team is happy to have him performing well, and they're happy for either of them to win. But they have to kind of balance that within their team because it is a team environment. It's the same. It's the same engineers and mechanics and assistants that change the wheels on both
I was
teams
about to
in the
ask,
pit
do they have
stops.
their own separate, crews within the same team, or it's
There are, so they have
same guy?
their own engineer, and they would have some of their own team. But so pit stops, for example, they're run by the same group of people. Like they don't have like two pit teams; they've just
Yeah,
got one.
right.
So there's a lot of information that's shared. There's a lot of resources that are shared, and this fight is going to. I don't know if it's going to get personal because it depends what happens during the races, and in qualifying, of course. If if Oscar can qualify first for a few of these races, he might then go ahead and win some of these races really easily and just lock away the drivers' championship, and there might not be this battle. But between the two of them and Max Verstappen, who's won the last 4 drivers' championships in a row, it's going to be really tight to see who can get there. And I think there might be more tears before the end of the season for the McLaren team.
Interesting. Very
The
good.
next race is in Texas next weekend, and that's one of the last 6 races before the end of the season. And just staying with Formula One to wrap things up, mate, could you be my girlfriend? Is my question. Not you, literally, but what I want to ask
What a
you.
bizarre
Um,
question.
is there too much focus on what's happening off the track at Formula One? And you start to see this in some other sports as well. But Carlos Sainz, who used to race for Ferrari, he now drives for Williams. He's a great driver, one of my favorites. He's accused Formula One this week of showing shots of the drivers' girlfriends in the pits far too often at the expense of what's happening on the track. Now, as a sports purist, mate, I've got to ask you, do you want to see more hot chicks on Formula One, or do you want to see the racing action and what's happening?
Oh, geez, the one of the great questions asked upon men, isn't it? Well, this was one. It's funny you mention it. My mind went straight to last year's Super Bowl when there was just so many images of Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Just Taylor Swift, and obviously they're trying to lean into it, aren't they? They're trying to get a different demographic or whatever. I don't know, mate. What are these girls like scantily dressed or something, or is
Oh,
is
look,
there
they've obviously
something else
spent a
behind it?
couple of hours getting ready and making themselves look fantastic. They're all young women. They all look great. I don't know what any of them do, whether they've got careers and skills and whatever else, but they don't focus on that. My wife and I, we watch most of the Formula One races together, and she's quite into it. And we both remarked to each other. I was like, "Geez, they're doing a lot of cutaways to women in the pit, like." This is getting a bit
Yeah,
annoying, and we're trying to focus on the race and what's happening. And Carlos said, "Look, I understand it. It's part of our story and it's part of what's happening in the sport, and people want to know more about us." But he said there was like 5 or 6 great passes and in racing situations, including some that he was involved in, that just didn't get shown on the coverage at all, and instead they were doing a cutaway to, his girlfriend or one of the other drivers' ladies, and it just felt a bit forced and a bit weird.
mm,
I'm all for it, and understanding more about the drivers. And look, they're great looking women. I'm not saying they're not, but for me, I just probably prefer a bit more focus on the race.
yeah. It always annoys me watching the footy when they just pan to something completely random for too long when the game's on, and you do miss something. You're like, oh, yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Well, mate, more action, of course, on the track. Hopefully, a lot more on the track in Texas in the US next week. A really great race coming up in the Formula One calendar, and more power to Oscar. I hope he gets there and gets a drivers' championship for himself and for our country. I think it'd be the first in something like 40 years for Australia to have a driver win the Formula One championship. I think Alan. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten his surname. One of our great Formula One drivers.
Why have I got Fleming in my head?
Who?
Fleming?
No.
No, that's
Um,
random. All right, someone's going to know.
I'm just going to look it up because I just feel
You're
Alan
with
Jones, the great, not the broadcaster, but the great Formula race car driver. He won it around 40 years ago, and we've had Mark Webber, we've had Daniel Ricciardo, of course. Even Mick Doohan's son drove a couple of races this year, and like a really bad manager in the Premier League, got sacked after 2 races.
Wow.
Sadly speaking, but yeah, if he does get there, it will be epic for motorsport in our country. And it's in terms of a sporting achievement, it will be huge for Australia. It is right up there with some of the biggest and best achievements that we've ever had in sport in this country.
Go him. Go him.
Go him. More power to you, Oscar.
More power to you, pal.
Let's see him go for it next weekend. And mate, in the meantime, that's it for the off season. Thanks for watching and listening. I really enjoyed it. Great to be back with the Battlers and hanging out with you, mate. Of course, we're on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. And remember, work hard and be good to your mother. We'll see you next week and enjoy your off season. Cheers, Lee.
Cheers, pal.